Hello and welcome to the next video in this tutorial series, and in this video we will talk about Adjacency, and I hope I have spoken it correctly and spell it correctly in the title, because it's one of the most important mechanics in Subcom and you probably won't find it in another game. And Adjacency basically means that you can build some buildings next to other buildings and then they get these blue lines for UEF or white lines for Aeon, and have certain effects on the building they are built next to. So if you have a tech-free shield, like this one, it consumes 400 energy. But if you have a tech-free shield, again, next to 4 tech-2 power generators, you have only 200 energy consumptions. So every tech-2 power generator next to a energy-consuming building reduces the amount of energy the building needs by 12.5%. And if you have a shield linked to tech-free power generators, each tech-free power generator will actually reduce the amount of energy needed by around, I think it's 20%, but I'm not actually sure. So the shield will consume even less energy. Of course, this is not very efficient. You have always to keep in mind that the power generators, of course, also cost mass and energy. And if you have a shield that costs like 3000 mass, you shouldn't build 4 tech 3 energy generators to save some energy. You should just build another shield. But for example, if you only have 2 tech 2 power generators and 1 tech 3 shield, it's pretty efficient to build it next to them because you really save some energy. And it's also quite important if you have a tech 1 factory, because as you can see, if in the tech 1 factory I'm building, then the tank costs minus 19 energy. But if I have a tech 1 factory that is surrounded by tech 1 power generators, by tech 1 power generators you have to build anyway, building a tank suddenly is only 14 mass. So you can basically save up to 1/4 of the energy you would need. And that's the reason why in the pro replays you often see the pros surrounding their factory with energy generators. And if you build a factory next to mass extractor, it works exactly the same way, with the only difference that for a tech 1 mass extractor you get a reduction of 7.5%. For a tech 2 mass extractor you get a increasement or a reduction of 15%. And for a tech 3 mass extractor you get a reduction of 25%. The only problem with this is if you build next factory, then it is reduced from the factory, so instead of the 12 mass you would need per second for the Titan, you only need 9 mass. But as soon as you take engineers or drones or your commander to support the factory, these drones or commander is not affected by the reduction. And since the factory only has a small amount of the build power of the engineers or the drones, so you save like, let's say 20 mass, because most of the build power comes from the drones and not from the factory. So normally it is not that efficient. It might become more efficient if the NG mod comes, but at the moment it's not very efficient. You can do this, but it's not that important. Normally I just surround it with power generators and don't really care about the mass extractors. There's this myth that shields would get more efficient if they are surrounded by tech 2 power generators, but this is really a myth. Shields do not get more efficient just if they are surrounded by power generators. They do not recharge faster. And the next thing is that, of course, every building that needs energy or mass is affected by this. So the nuke defense, the nuke itself, the Revenger for energy, the radar systems, all tech levels for energy. And then there are the RTs, tech 2, tech 3 and also tech 4. They are not only affected by the energy they need, but also by their fire rate. So if they are surrounded by energy generators, they fire faster, and that's really important for all tech levels. So you should always surround the tech 2 artilleries with tech 1 power generators, and the tech 3 and tech 4 artillery, of course, with tech 3 power generators. This does not work for the mobile artillery, so it doesn't work for Scatis, for Cybran. But for example for the Salvation, for Aeon it does work. And the second possibility of Adjacency is with storages. So if you build storages around your Tech 2 mass extractor, for example, normally a Tech 2 mass extractor would be 6 mass, but as soon as you have storages around, you get 9 mass, and of course the same for the Tech 3 mass extractor. So you always get about 1/2 more mass, so 50% more mass, and that's mainly the reason why all pros build mass storages around their maxes. And you should always do this on Tech 2. So if you want to upgrade a max to Tech 3, you do this like Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 2 with storages, Tech 3, and not different. Never build storages around your Tech 1 mass extractor. That's simply not efficient, and never upgrade a Tech 2 mass extractor to a Tech 3 mass extractor without building storages around it. Only exception maybe is if you have really that much mass that you can't spend it without upgrading it to Tech 2, but that doesn't happen very often. And of course the same thing also works with energy storages. The only problem with it is that it is not very efficient, and it's very micro intensive to build such structures. And also if you got a single Tech 2 bomber then coming towards your let's say fragile structure, then you will just lose everything, because the energy storage has such a high explosion damage. And it's more or less the same for mass fabricators. If you have that huge mass farms, then a single Tech 2 bomber or a single tactical missile can just disrupt it, because if one thing explodes, everything will explode. And that's basically everything you need to know about Adjacency, so see you in the next video.